Chapter 4. Good work as always, fire breather, said one of Vandrus Tarkin's fat lackeys, a mermaid who had chosen to be in their male form. Mermaids could switch from male to female whenever they liked, and there were many people who'd give up their lung just for a night with one, but mermaids were almost as rare as dragon shifters like himself, almost. Call me fire breather again, and I'll happily tie you to a chair in my basement and watch as you become human, Kaeron threatened, adding with a cruel smile, I heard that it feels like dying over and over and over again, and only after all the bone-breaking, flesh-tearing, agony and you turn then, and only then, will I finally end your miserable life, fish boy. Mermaids had to submerge in the waters they were born in once a week, or they'd experience what was called the change, where the mermaid would slowly become trapped in a human body. Some mermaids didn't even risk leaving the body of water they were born in, and would just live there for their entire life. And before Laura Rylantar, the inventor of the home submerged aquarium, came along, most mermaids had never traveled far from where they were born. The mermaid threw up his hand that wasn't holding the bag with the shifter's head in it, in surrender. Chillax, fucking psycho. What was that? Kaeron growled, shooting him a menacing look. The mermaid's eyes grew to the size of boulders, but before the man could apologize or make it worse, a soft, lilting voice spoke from behind Kaeron. Tarkin still won't meet with you? This was the 5th job Kaeron had taken on for the Great White, and he had yet to meet the man, at least not in person. Kaeron had, of course, tracked him a few times just in case. Well, just in case, and to be honest, Kaeron didn't care. The guy was a racist, paranoid, sexist man-child with a big mouth, and if they ever did meet face to face, Kaeron had no doubts it would end in disaster. He turned his head, effectively dismissing the mermaid, and looked over the witch who was leaning against the wall, one foot on it, near the doorway. Her light purple eyes watched him with a predator's intensity. Her plump, rose-red lips were pursed into a seductive smile that made his cock throb, but he knew better than to fall for it. It was like a carnivorous plant inviting its prey to a meal. She was wearing a diamond earring so large he wondered how'd it fit, which got him thinking about other things that she could fit. Her hair was tied into twin tails that extended down to her excellently sculpted ass, his eyes lingering on the sight, almost making him drool, and her slim figure paired with the lacy black panties she was purposely flashing him under that tiny skirt of hers, and those mostly exposed breasts in that skimpy outfit, was making him feral. I thought you were out west chasing down some B-tier demon Nayla? He asked, voice dropping an octave. She bit the bottom of her lip, and he was more than satisfied to watch her look him over, with that slow, lustful gaze that made him swell up. She noticed. Finished that a few weeks ago, she said, slowly lifting her gaze to meet his own. Shopped for a while in Cizro, but Drayfen has me playing debt collector for him, so I'm here. So you are, he said, eyes wandering back down to her ass. Such a dirty look. She whispered sweetly, an invitation. He didn't move. Why is it I feel like you knew I'd be here? She smiled innocently. Why would you think that? He scoffed. Tarkin isn't here right now, so unless you, who's even more impatient than I am, are planning to wait, you must have already gotten what you came here for, and now you want something else. He raised an eyebrow. Ugh, you're so damn scary. She spat, dropping her foot and taking the first step. What was that? He snarled. You heard me, you arrogant, self-absorbed scaredy cat, she said, taking a step with every insult until she was standing so close that she had to look up to meet his eyes. Her jasmine-scented perfume couldn't hide the smell of her arousal that wrapped itself around his cock. I've killed people for less, he said with a low growl. Then do something about it, she said, rising up on her tiptoes, inching closer and closer. He broke, lifting her up against his chest by her ass. He kissed her hard and deep as she wrapped her long, milky white legs around him, kissing him back, her nails digging into his back. Without breaking the kiss, Kaeron slammed her back against a nearby wall. Not hard enough to really hurt. Not her at least, a weaker woman maybe, but hard enough to make her say against his lips. Playing rough, are we? It's been one of those kind of weeks, he said back, still not breaking the kiss. He was vaguely aware of a door opening and a few of Tarkin's men walking out it, seeing them, and wisely going back where they came from. Finally, she broke the kiss, dragging her teeth along his lower lip as she did. Let's continue this somewhere a bit more private. He smiled and nipped her ear, drawing a surprised squeak from her, before he reluctantly let her slide down to her feet, his erection pressing against her the entire way, and he pinned her against the wall with it. Kaeron, she warned, but it came out breathy. He lowered his head and kissed the side of her neck once, twice, bringing a finger to her wetness. This wet already? He smiled devilishly. It's your fault. She moaned into his ear. Oh, he'd be the cause of much more than that, but he finally pulled away, followed her outside, to their cars, and to wherever she was staying. Lillian was staring at Kaeron's everywhere as they waited outside his car. He looked as if he had been run over and attacked by a vampire and a grizzly bear. His lip was swole, and there were bite marks on his neck. His eye was also swole, and there were claw marks everywhere, and that was only on the exposed flesh. Yet the man was smiling and even, humming to himself. She didn't even want to breathe too loud, if only to continue witnessing whatever this was. His smile disappeared, and he shot her an icy look. Keep staring, and I'll tear out your eyeballs and feed them to you. She rolled her eyes and looked away, but she could feel his eyes burning a hole into the back of her skull. She ignored him and instead watched the streets around them. They were mostly empty besides a few stragglers here and there who wouldn't meet her eyes. They never gave the duo anything more than quick glances, yet she felt as if they were the center of attention. They were currently parked in the slums in front of a rundown apartment complex, so of course, the tall buff man who looked like he had taken a shrapnel grenade to the face, dressed in all black with 2 white stripes going down the entire outfit from neck to ankle, with 3 diamond chains and a diamond watch, and the scrawny white girl in a hoodie and sweatpants, who had arrived in a black sports car that most likely cost more than every house on this block and the neighboring one combined, were drawing attention. The door to the apartment opened, and a heavy-set dark-skinned woman appeared, and Kaeron bristled next to her. The woman's chest was covered only by a velvet red bra, showing off her massive tits. Lillian blushed and looked away from the indecent sight. You know you have a pair of your own? Kaeron said as if reading her mind, not taking his attention off the woman. And you don't see me flaunting them, do you? She hissed. Yeah, well, that's Elizabeth for you. He sighed. Elizabeth Jules, or Jules, as Lex called her. Lex had told Lillian a little bit about Elizabeth when Kaeron had still not come back to the house yesterday. He had been MIA for 3 days before he finally showed up in his sports car and told her to hop in, with no explanation. Lex had stayed with Lillian for the first 2 days and assured her that he sometimes disappeared, so she shouldn't worry about it. But it didn't help much when all she had was time to think, and when Lex had left to spend the night with Elizabeth. Lillian had it with waiting, and was about to say screw the plan and figure it out on her own, when he had finally shown up looking like he hadn't slept in the last 3 days. Elizabeth noticed the two of them and laughed, pointing towards Kaeron and stepping forward and out the way for Lex. Lex appeared in the doorway and looked their way, smiling and waving at Lillian, who returned the sentiment, but when Lex's gaze landed on Kaeron, she frowned. The two girls exchanged a few more words and then hugged fiercely before Elizabeth stared down Lillian and strode over. So, you're the reason I'm going to be losing my best friend, Elizabeth said to Lillian, Lex close on her tail. Don't look all that special to me. Lillian had it with people disrespecting her. Yeah, well, neither do you. Elizabeth snorted. It was a joke, damn. This one is a ton of fun, Lex. She mocked. At least I can be noticed without having to be practically naked. Oh, wow. That hurt. I'll reflect on my actions right away. Lillian rolled her eyes and looked at Lex, who was examining Kaeron. Can we get going now? Lillian said dryly. Kaeron turned his attention from his sister, opened the driver's side door, and sat, waiting for them to do the same. As fun as it has been to have such a stimulating conversation with an individual like yourself, I'll be off now. This bitch," Elizabeth said, lunging for Lillian. Neither Lex nor Kaeron stepped in as Elizabeth's fist met Lillian's face. Elizabeth was at least 3 of Lillian, but Lillian refused to go out without a fight, throwing out a bunch of wild punches before Elizabeth tackled her to the ground and pinned her, pounding her face in. Lillian tried scratching her, biting her, even headbutting her, but her hands were pinned by Elizabeth's knees, and every time she tried to bite, she'd be struck in the face, and the few times she had tried to headbutt, Elizabeth had just avoided it and countered. Lillian's lip was bleeding, arms throbbing, legs thrashing, and hot tears leaked down her face before Kaeron pulled the crazy bitch off her, declaring, "That's enough. Fuck you, you psycho bitch." Lillian spat blood at the cement, getting back on her wobbly feet and lunging at the gorilla of a woman, but she was intercepted by Lex. "Let me go. This bitch is about to get what she deserves," Lex spoke, poorly hiding a laugh. "It isn't worth it. Let's just go." Lillian's face was burning hot, and she spat. "Fuck both of you." She snatched herself out of Lex's hold, opened the back of the door, sat down, and slammed the door. Both Lex and Kaeron were joining her in minutes, Lex sitting in the passenger's seat without a word. Kaeron had a smile on his face, but chose not to say anything as the engine roared to life. Lex stuck her head out the window and shouted, "I'll see you in a few." Elizabeth repeated, "See you in a few." And then she was gone. Lex turned her attention to her brother. "So, what tramp did this to you?" He smiled innocently. "What makes you think a woman did this? What if I were attacked by a demon?" "Were you attacked by a demon?" she asked, playing along.
"No."
The smile in his voice unmistakable. "Didn't think so. So which skank did it this time? Melinda? Imani? Don't tell me you're talking to Brianna again." "Not since she blew up my last car." He shrugged. "It was Nayla. I should have known." He yawned. "I thought you were supposed to be watching Lamb?" That got Lillian's attention. "Who?"
He sighed.
"You. That's my new nickname for you. It's short for Lost Lamb." "Don't call me that." He ignored her and spoke to Lex. "Drayfin isn't happy about me taking jobs out here." "Drayfin?" Lillian exclaimed. He was one of the 7. The most powerful people in the world. Even Lillian had heard of them. Drayfin was the newest to the 7, having only earned the title 5 years ago, and he was, in all rights, the most powerful dragon shifter in the world. "She said that?" Lex asked, ignoring Lillian's outburst. "No, but Drayfin wouldn't have sent her out here to keep tabs on me otherwise." "Good thing we're about to get out of town for a bit." Lex sighed. Kaeron didn't respond, and Lillian closed her eyes, her growing headache pounding away. She didn't care that they didn't seem to take her seriously. She was on her way to escaping that foul man, and she would lie, cheat, steal, and betray anybody who got in her way, including these 2. If she had to, she'd make it and see the woman who appeared in her dreams most nights. She would, because she had no other choice.